So let us discuss the topic salary. Detailed discussion we have already done as far as salary is concerned. I will discuss with you a full-fledged question, comprehensive question, where we will be having different items of an SSA, different allowances, different perquisites, different deductions, etc. etc. So now today we will discuss one question, a comprehensive question, and you will get an idea that how questions comes in examination, not of undergraduate level, but even at professional level or at administration level, and how you should solve and present these questions. So let me discuss with you a full-fledged question. Different topics of salary or different subtopics of salary are already over. So let us discuss a full-fledged question from my book of the topic salary. So let me discuss a question from my book, Concept Building Approach. Problem number 3. Page 4.60. This is the numerical I will discuss with you. And you take the screenshot. Let me show you that numerical. Now this will be lengthy numerical, so you take this screenshot. Please take the screenshot of this numerical. If you have taken this screenshot, then you raise the hands. Hurry up, raise your hands if you have taken this screenshot. Okay. Others, those who have not taken, please take it. Because then we will discuss this numerical. I expect everyone has taken, and now let us start solving it. In case someone has not taken, if that person wants to show me that slide again, please tell me. That screen again, please tell me. Otherwise, I'm proceeding further. If you have not taken, please inform. Now what this question is. So first let me read this question for you. X, age 50 years, receives the following incomes from Y Limited during the year ending 31st March 21. 31st March 21. That means it is my previous year, 2021. Basic salary 25,000 per month. Tiffin allowance 1,000 per month. Actual expenditure, however, is 8,000. Can you tell me the tax treatment of this Tiffin allowance? Any idea what will be the tax treatment of Tiffin allowance?
So entirely taxable.
Yeah, entirely taxable, because Tiffin allowance is not that allowance where exemption depends upon actual expenditure. It is not that allowance where exemption depends upon provisions of the act. It is not an house rent allowance. It is not a house rent allowance. It is not an allowance which is fully exempt. So that means fully taxable. So actual expenditure doesn't make any sense. Entire amount will be taxable. Commission. Then reimbursement of ordinary medical expenditure for the treatment of X and his family members. Transport allowance. Besides, X enjoys the following perks. Perks means perquisites, non-cash benefits. Unfurnished flat, unfurnished, provided at Delhi at a nominal rent of 3,500 per month. Rent paid by the employer 12,000 per month. Interest-free loan for purchasing home appliances. Amount 1 lakh. Date of taking loan 1st June 18. Amount outstanding between April and November 50,000, and after November 18,000. SBI lending rate is 18.5% per annum. Employer company sells the following assets to X on 10th Jan 2021. Car, computer, fridge. Cost of the assets, sale price. Date of purchase of all the assets put to use on same day, 10th June 18. He contributed 20% of his salary to a recognized provident fund account to which his employer made matching contribution. Interest at 13% per annum. At the rate 13% per annum amounting to 52,000 has been credited to his aforesaid provident fund account on 10 December 20. He donated, it is donation. Determine the total income and tax liability of X for the assessment year 21-22 if option A, or not option, situation A, he has not opted for optional taxation scheme under section 115 BAC, and B, if he has opted for optional taxation scheme under section 115 BAC. Let us start solving the numerical. Let us do situation if this person has not opted for optional taxation scheme. Or no need to write this section of not opted. So let us compute total income. Computation of total income of X for the assessment year 21-22. Now let us start solving it. X age 50 years receives the, you can read from your screen, I'm reading from the book. X age 50 years receives the following incomes from Y Limited during the year ending 31st March 21. Basic salary 25,000 per month. So how much is total basic salary? Since no month is given, that means I am working for the entire year. 25,000 into 12. 3 lakh. Next point. Tiffin allowance. As I have already discussed, in Tiffin allowance there is no exemptions, so actual expenditure is given only for confusion purpose. Just because everything is written, it doesn't mean that it will be helpful in determining or fulfilling my purpose. My job is to compute total income, where it doesn't mean that I will deduct actual expenditure. I must know the provision, and if I know the provision, I can easily say that Tiffin allowance is fully taxable, no exemption. 1000 into 12. Commission 2000 per month. Reimbursement of ordinary medical expenditure. Now it is a perquisite. It's a reimbursement. It's a perquisite of medical facility. Reimbursement of ordinary medical expenditure for the treatment of X and his family members, 65,000. Can you tell me the answer of this point? Can anyone try to tell what is the tax treatment of this point? Anyone who can try? Reimbursement of ordinary medical expenditure. It is reimbursement of ordinary medical expenditure for the treatment of assessee X and his family members. The total amount given by the employer to the employee is 65,000. Can you tell me whether it is taxable or exempt, or some amount exempt or not? But do you remember what provisions I should apply? Fully taxable. Why?
So medical facility provided in India is only exempt in following cases where the hospital is by the employer, or even if it's a clinic or dispensary, but it has to be employers. Then we see that if it's a government hospital, it isn't mentioned, so I'm going to assume it's not. Then even then, if it's otherwise, it would be for prescribed diseases availed in hospital that is approved by the CGHS, Central Government Health Scheme, if I'm not wrong. But even that isn't mentioned. It just says regular medical treatment. So assuming none of these conditions are fulfilled, I can't say any of it is exempt.
So can't I make it exempt? I can assume that this treatment is in medical, this treatment is availed in a government hospital. If I assume in this way, I can say that it is exempt.
So you could, but I believe that if the question is providing this information, important information such as that would apply for conditions would be provided as well. So I would find it safer for myself to not assume that.
No, in real life, there is no need of any assumption. So if you think that assuming something which makes it exempt is wrong, then that is not correct. I can assume anything, it is my choice. If the question is silent, that it is my choice, what I want to assume. I can assume that this treatment is availed in a government hospital. In that case, it will be exempt. I can assume that this treatment is availed in a employer's hospital. This perquisite would become exempt. I can assume that this treatment is availed in a hospital which is approved by the chief commissioner, and it is for prescribed disease under rule 3A. It will become exempt. So we should not think that we cannot make an assumption which is making any benefit as exempt. The point is, whatever we want to assume, we should write it carefully. That's it. So let me assume, or let me write the presentation, that what you should mention or how you should mention it in your examinations. Note 1. So leave some space blank and let me write note 1. These are notes. First point, it is assumed that medical treatment. Now, one assumption is by default that if nothing is mentioned, I will assume that it is in India. I'm not assuming that it is outside India, because assuming outside India is a little bit an assumption which is having less probability. That is also correct, but that is having less probability. More rational is that everything is in India. It is assumed that, because in real life you don't face any problem. You have the actual and actual data and facts with you. These are only questions just for making the concepts clear in the minds of the student. That's it. It is assumed that medical. So you cannot say that this assumption is correct or this is not correct. Every assumption can be correct and every assumption can be wrong also, because real life doesn't have so many assumptions. It is assumed that medical treatment is not availed in. So this is also my assumption. I am also assuming that these are not available. So I also will make it as taxable. But if anyone is making it as exempt, that is also fine. So my assumption is that medical treatment is not availed in, first point, government hospital. If it is not availed in government hospital, then I am going for second assumption. It is not availed in employer's hospital. Then I'm assuming that it is not availed in any hospital approved by the government for CGHS. For CGHS, and it is not availed in any hospital which is approved by the Chief Commissioner of Income Tax or Commissioner of Income Tax. Let me write Commissioner. For the treatment of prescribed disease. Disease under Rule 3A. And if you want to write sub-rule, it is sub-rule 2, otherwise you can avoid it. Now, if this is my assumption, then I will say that this medical reimbursement is taxable, if this is my assumption. But I need to write it carefully as note, otherwise the question is incomplete. If you want to assume that it is availed in any of these hospitals, then you will write that it is exempt. Both are correct. There is no issue. Please raise your hand if the concept is understood. But the point is, we have to mention it carefully to the examiner with the help of notes, so that examiner knows that the student know the concept. Anything and everything is correct, provided we have explained in detail. Most of you, I think, have understood the point. So let us proceed. Any problem, you can interrupt and ask or seek your clarification. You can seek any clarification from me. Transport allowance. Next point, transport allowance. Can you tell me the treatment of transport allowance? Fully taxable. Why? Because exemption of transport allowance is available only for differently abled people. If nothing is mentioned, I am assuming a normal situation that the person is not a differently abled person. So there is no exemption of transport allowance. If you assume that the person is differently abled person, you can claim some exemption here. So everything depends upon assumption. That's it. So tax is a subject in which assumptions are having role, but be specific in writing or noting down the exemption. Just because what you are assuming in your mind, if you don't tell it to the examiner, then examiner will frame his or her own assumption. So better you tell to the examiner that this is what my assumption is. That's it. Besides, X enjoys the following perquisites. Unfurnished flat. Now it is the perquisite of unfurnished accommodation. So note 2. In fair note, I should avoid writing so many things. It doesn't look good. So note 2. Calculation of value of perquisite of unfurnished accommodation. Unfurnished flat provided at Delhi at a nominal rent of 3,500 per month. Rent paid by the employer 12,000 per month. If you remember, it is an unfurnished accommodation which is taken on rent by the employer. It is not owned by the employer. If it is taken on rent by the employer, it does not matter whether it is being provided at Delhi or in any other city. It does not matter. Population of city does not matter when accommodation is taken on rent by the employer. So what is the value? The accommodation here, we can write if an accommodation is taken on rent by the employer, the value of perquisite is, can you tell me what will be the value? If you
15%
remember
of the salary
yes,
or rent paid by
yes.
employer, whichever is less.
I should not use the word rent paid by the employer. It is paid or payable. Okay, whatever is the rental expenditure of the employer. At this point you must know. Rent, payable or paid, whatever. That means it is the expenditure of the employer. Employer will have to pay this much. Payable or paid by the employer, whichever is less. Now the next question arises, how much is this salary? Can you tell me what is this salary? What do you include in this salary? Salary for the purpose of accommodation includes basic salary, DNS allowance forming part, plus all taxable monetary benefits. Taxable value, all taxable monetary values. Except what? It does not include any perquisite even if monetary. It does not include any perquisite even if monetary. Otherwise, it includes every taxable benefit. Now, if you see my question, what you will include in accommodation? I will include 3 lakh. I will include Tiffin allowance. It's monetary. I will include commission. Perquisite is a monetary benefit. Sorry, not perquisite. Reimbursement is a monetary benefit, but since it is a perquisite, I will exclude it. Though 65,000 is monetary, but it is a perquisite, so I will not include it. 2,400 I will include. So I will include these 4. That's it. Because if you have read the entire question, I know that in the entire question there is no other benefit. All will be perquisites. All are perquisites. So since I knew the entire question, I am taking only these 4. Otherwise, you have to first read the entire question before taking a decision. So it is 3 lakh plus 12,000 plus 24,000 plus 2,400. This is 15%, or rent of the employer, it is 12,000 per month, so it becomes 144.
So why are we not including the medical facility?
Because it is a perquisite. If you remember, while computing the accommodation value, we do not include any perquisite, even if monetary.
Okay.
Had it been medical allowance, I would have included it. But perquisites you cannot include. You can read your notes. If you have written that perquisites you cannot include. Now tell me which is lower. The lower is 3 lakh plus 12,000 plus 24,000 plus 2,400 into 15%, 50760 or 144. Oh, 50760 is lower. And now can you tell me what I will deduct? Amount
Recovered from the employee.
The employee.
Yes, yes. This nominal rent means this was accommodation at concessional rent. Amount recovered from the employee. 42,000. So difference is 8,760. That's it. So I will write note to 8760. Like suppose it is a real life case, and if I am getting this accommodation, I would have included 8,760 while computing my total income for the purpose of paying tax to the government. Indirectly, in the eyes of the government, I have saved indirectly 8,760 per year just because of this facility of accommodation. I hope the point is clear. Next point. Any problem you can interrupt and ask me. Interest-free loan for purchasing home appliances. Amount 1 lakh. Date of taking loan 1st June 18. 1st June 18 is not in my previous year. So it's an information that I took the loan from my company of 1 lakh rupees on 1st June 18. But when my year starts on 1st April 20, the repayment has already been done. That is why the question says amount outstanding between April to November 2020 is 50,000. And after November 20, 18,000. SBI lending rate for similar loan on 1st April 20 is 18.5% per annum. If you remember, it is also a perquisite of interest-free loan. In perquisite of interest-free loan, how do we compute the value? We take that we take the interest which is charged by State Bank of India on 1st April 2020, that is first day of my previous year, on similar type of loan which you have taken from your employer. So question says that had you took the loan indirectly, what is the meaning of this question, this point? Had you took the loan from market and not from your employer, you would have paid 18.5% per annum. Now you are not paying anything. So the interest which you are not paying is your saving. You pay the tax. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. For 8 months, the outstanding is 50,000. Sorry, for 8 months, the outstanding is 50,000. Rate of interest 18.5% per annum into 8 by 12. Plus, for remaining 4 months, the outstanding is only 18. That means in the month of December, I paid 32,000 also. So only 18 is outstanding. 18,000 into 18.5% into 4 by 12. That's it. So this gives me the value of interest loan. Please compute the value. It is, I think, 7277. I think. Please check. Anyone who got the answer? 7277. 50,000 into 18.5% into 8 by 12 plus 18,000 into 18.5% into 4 by 12. 7,277.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next point. Employer company sells the following assets to X on 10th Jan 2021. 10th Jan 21. My previous year. So when company sells the assets, do you know it's also a perquisite? What is the name of this perquisite?
Sale of movable assets.
Yes, it is perquisite in respect of sale of movable assets. Note 3. So let us discuss note 3. Calculation of perquisite of sale of movable assets. If you remember the calculation of perquisite of sale of movable asset, how do we compute it? We compute on an average market value. and then we compare it the value which as an employee I have given to my employer. If there is any benefit, I include it as my income. Now, in the rules, car, computer, fridge. In the question it is car, computer, fridge, but in the rule, car is having normal wear and tear every year at 20% as for the purpose of this calculation. Electronic item, which includes office appliances, like office items like computer, laptop, scanner, printer, these are having normal wear and tear at the rate of 50%. Fridge having normal wear and tear at the rate of 10% straight line method. Now, so let us compute on an average market value. Car, computer, fridge. Actual cost 4 lakh. Computer 60,000. Fridge 20,000. Now when I purchased it, if you see the last line of point C, date of purchase of all the assets 10th June 18. So it is my date of purchase. But this date is of no use. If you remember this provision, what you are concerned with, date of put to use. Coincidentally, my put to use date is also same. So normal wear and tear is calculated on the basis of completed year during which the asset is used. Coincidentally, the dates are same, and that is why I will take this date, but I'm indirectly, if you remember, what is behind this which is working in my mind as a person who is computing this value, that I am concerned with the date of put to use, not with the date of purchase, because my normal wear and tear will start from date of put to use. So normal wear and tear, first year. Now these are completed year, any fraction to be ignored if you remember the rules. So my first year normal wear and tear will be from 10th June 18. 10th June 18, not date of purchase, it is date of put to use. So when I'm writing 10th June 18, I'm writing is it as a date which is the date when it is first put to use till 9th June 19. So in car it is 20%, 80,000. In computer it is 50%, 30,000. In fridge it is 10%, straight line method 2,000. WDV on 10th June 18. Sorry, 10th June 19. It is on an average market value on 10th June 19. On an average. To bring uniformity, department has framed such rules so that everyone is at par. No scope of any discussion, no corruption, no bribe in the system. Because when rules are crystal clear, then there is no problem and no one can be penalized. Year 2. Now next year. So next year normal wear and tear date will be 10th June 19 till 9th June 20. 20% returned on value. So 20% of 2 lakh, 3 lakh 20. If you remember the normal wear and tear, these are the rates. 20% in case of car, 50% in case of computer, and in fridge it is 10% SLM, it is 50% WDV, it is 20% WDV. So it is 64, it is 15, and it is 2000. It is WDV on 10th June 2020. 320 minus 64, so that will be 256. 15,000 computer, 16,000 fridge. Now next year WDV you cannot compute because you have to compute on the basis of complete year, because if you write next year normal variant year, it will be 10th June 20 till 9th June 21. It is not possible because before the expiry of this period, on 10th Jan 2021 already the asset is sold. So as an employer, you are not the owner of the asset during this last completed year. So you cannot compute. So department says you cannot compute the normal variant year of this year for the purpose of calculation. So in the eyes of the department, it is the on an average market value of these assets. So now they say at what value you purchased it. So what is amount recovered from the employee? If you really know the concept, then its sale value is nothing. It is just amount recovered from the employee, which you deduct from every perquisite. I can call it as amount. My value is 2,56,000, 15,000 and 16. But from final value, before arriving at final taxable value, you always deduct amount recovered from the employee. So this value was 256 and you purchased it for 2 lakhs. So department says you saved 56, pay the tax. This is what the provisions are. In case of computer, I purchased it at 18,000. Department says the market value was only 15, but you purchased it at 18. So technically, there is no benefit to you. So it is nil. In fact, you are at a loss. This is what the view of the department. And as far as fridge is concerned, it is 16,000, and you are paying how much? 10,000. So that means 6,000. So total taxable value of this perquisite is 56 plus 0 plus 6. It is 62,000. I will write 56 plus 6, 62,000. That's it. I hope this point is clear. Any problem you can ask, otherwise next point. Point D. He contributed 20% of his salary. That means he himself contributed 20% of his salary to a recognized provident fund account to which his employer made a matching contribution. That means now there is a provident fund account in which employer as well as employee contributes. What employer contributes is an income, because in salary, whatever you receive from the employer is an income. So what employer contributes is an income. So I will write, since space is less, so let me prepare a separate table. Employer's contribution to RPF. How much is employer's contribution? It says 20% of salary. Then the question which anyone can ask from you is, what is the salary? Then you always have to remember one point, that this salary is same which you are using in the contest for which you are talking about. If I'm talking about RPF, I will search that what is salary for the purpose of RPF. Had I talked about leave encashment, I would have searched what is the purpose of salary for leave encashment. Had I talked about gratuity, I would have searched what is the purpose of salary for gratuity. So whenever information is not clear about the exact amount which you have earned, and indirectly examiner says that amount received or contributed towards RPF by the employer is 20% of salary, then check the definition of salary which is used for RPF. Can you tell me, for the purpose of salary, for the purpose of RPF, what do we include in salary? Do you remember? What is salary for the purpose of RPF? It is basic salary plus DNS allowance forming part plus commission based on fixed percentage of turnover achieved by the employee. In this numerical, there is no DA forming part, there is no commission based on fixed percentage. As far as this commission is concerned, it is not based on fixed percentage, it itself is fixed. That I cannot take. Such commission I take for unfurnished accommodation values or accommodation perquisites. But such commissions are not taken for leave encashment, gratuity, provident funds, house rent allowance. You don't take such commissions in these 4 cases, but for accommodation you can take these commissions. I hope the point is clear. So how much is salary for the purpose of RPF? Only 3 lakh, which is basic. Not because I'm taking basic salary here, I'm taking salary. Since there is no DA forming part, there is no commission based on fixed percentage. Coincidentally, my basic salary has become salary, 60,000. And do you know how much is exempt? Do you remember how much is exempt?
12%.
Very good. Exempt up to 12% of salary. So you will say 12% of salary. I'm not taking basic, I'm taking salary. Coincidentally, basic has become salary. So this point you always need to remember. 36 and remaining is tax 7. Then next point. And employees contribution also. That I'm noting it separately in my copy. That employee also contributed. Such things you should note somewhere when you attempt the numerical, so that you don't forget. That I will discuss after some time. Employer contribution towards RPF. Matching contribution. So I also contributed per year 60,000. What is the tax treatment of this point? That I will discuss later, but you should note it down. Next point. Interest at the rate of 13% per annum, amounting to rupees 52,000. So 52,000 is interest income which I received on the basis of 13% per year. Has been credited to his aforesaid provident fund account on 10th December 2020. 10th December 20 is in my previous year. So in my year, interest is credited in my RPF account 52,000. And do you remember how much is exempt? Interest in RPF is how much is exempt?
9.5%.
Yes, up to 9.5%. So how do you compute 9.5? 52,000 is the value of 13%. So you divide it by 13, you get 1%. You multiply it by 9.5, you get interest, which would have been had it been 9.5%. 38,000. It is 14,000. In case of provident fund, what happens is once in a year you get entire interest of 1 year. Once in a year you get entire interest of 1 year. So we never go into this detail for how many months I need to compute the interest and note. This on 10th December 2020 I received 1 year interest. Income tax is computed on 1 year basis. So you directly compute the amount. Don't fall into this trap or this confusion that I should compute the interest from April to December. No. Because in last year also, on 10th December, you computed the interest of last 1 year. So this chain goes on in case of provident fund. We never check in provident funds months. If the date is in your previous year, it is 1 year interest, tax it. That's it. I hope the point is clear. If not, you can ask me. He donated 20,000 to National Defence Fund. I think I have not yet discussed with you this point. These 2 points are pending. I donated to National Defence Fund. How much? 20,000. So these 2 points are pending. Otherwise, the question is over. Let us see now. How much is gross salary now? Do the total. Gross salary. Do the total. 519,437. Please check the total. Less. Can you tell me what is the deduction under section 6? What is the deduction from gross salary as per standard 16? How much?
Of 50,000.
50,000. And this is income from salary. It is 469,437. Add other heads income. Nil. It is gross total income. This is the presentation. Less. Now two things are, these are deductions under section 80. I have not yet discussed with you in detail 80. After some time we will discuss. So there is one deduction under section 80C. Whatever is my contribution, this my contribution, it is allowed to me as deduction under section 80C as far as RPF is concerned. Okay, it is my deduction under section 80C. Detailed discussion I will discuss later on. For the time being, you remember that it is deduction under section 80C. I saved in my RPF. So when you do any saving, what is the benefit to the government? In fact, there is a loss to the government. It reduces your income for the purpose of taxation. But savings at micro level, micro means different individuals. When we all save some amount, when different crores of people save some amount, it ultimately promotes, it increases investment at macro level. This is what the intention of section 80C is. 80C promotes people to come forward to save for themselves, but their saving ultimately comes in the economy through life insurance premium, through public provident fund, through banking system, etc. Ultimately, economy gets investment, government gets the amount indirectly. So savings at micro level promotes investment at macro level. That is why deduction under section 80C is given, that you save for yourself, still you will get benefit. So detailed discussion on 80C will be later on. This employee's contribution is allowed as deduction under section 80C. So this you write. It is my contribution. It is 60,000. And donation is allowed as deduction under section 80C. That also I will discuss with you later on. 20,000. Like in COVID, this PM Cares Fund was established, and donation towards PM Cares was allowed as 80G. Different funds are there: National Defense Fund, National Relief Fund. When you donate, donation is so many times required by the government to deal with these natural calamities. So tax department also indirectly gives this deduction, indirectly motivates people. This deduction indirectly motivates people to come forward and donate towards different funds which have been established and which country needs. Indira Gandhi Memorial Trust, Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, National Blood Transfusion Council, so many funds are there that I will discuss later. So these two are deductions. So now this is my final answer, total income. Can you tell me what is my total income?
So
389.
389,437.
I cannot write 437. 389 440 because total income has to be rounded off to the nearest multiple of 10. So do remember this point, otherwise you lose half or 1 mark. Total income must be rounded off. It should be 0 in the last digit, or you can say ones place, which we discuss in second class, ones, tens, hundred. So the digit at ones place must be 0 as far as total income is concerned. So I have rounded off 37 to 40. This is my total income. Now you compute the tax. 389,440. Now let us compute the tax. Now tax on 389,440. If you remember, up to 2,50,000 it is tax free. Income is tax free. 2,50,000 to 5 lakh it is 5%. So I will say that tax will be 5% of how much? 389,440 minus 2,50,000. This is how we compute the tax. So that will be 6,972. After this, what you come? If you remember the format of tax, what to deduct after this? Rebate under which section? 87A. How much is this rebate? 100% of tax, which is 6,972, or 12,500, whichever is less. If the income does not exceed 5 lakh, and yes, my income is not exceeding 5 lakh rupees, so which is lower? My income is not exceeding 5 lakh, so which is lower? 6,972. So technically there is no tax, because even if you add health and education cess at the rate of 4%, it will become nil. Nil. This is what my situation A is. Please raise your hand if you have understood this case, and I will take 5 minutes more to wind up the other situation also. It's very easy. Hurry up, please raise your hand if this point is clear. The numerical is clear. If you can attempt this numerical, you can attempt most of the numericals of salary. You need to revise the topics. Hurry up, please raise your hand if the numerical is clear. Any problem, you please ask. Now it was situation A, when I assumed that the assessee has not opted for optional taxation scheme. Now what if I opted for optional taxation scheme? Then what? Situation B. If opted for optional taxation scheme. Now, if you opt for optional taxation scheme, you remember that so many benefits will not be available to you. So now you compute the income in this way, computation of total income. So same format will be followed. Same thing. That means indirectly you can say that it will be a new question. It will be a new question indirectly. Okay, same thing, but I will not do an entire question. I will simply tell you what change will happen. If you attempt, if you not attempt, if you opt for optional taxation scheme, then let me compare what benefits I will not get. There will be no change in basic salary, no change in Tiffin allowance, no change in commission, medical, transport, accommodation, interest-free loan, sale of movable asset, PF contribution, interest credit. Till gross salary, there is no change. 519,437 till gross salary. In this numerical, there is no change. I'm not saying that in every question till gross salary there is no change. In this question till gross salary there is no change. I have discussed with you the theory also of optional taxation earlier, that which benefits will be foregone. So in the exam you have to write the entire question. Till gross salary there is no change in this question. 519,437. So first you will write everything. Then I will start. I'm starting from this point. Gross salary 519,437 less deduction. Can you tell me how much will be deduction under section 16 if I opted for optional taxation scheme? Nil. I will not get this deduction. Yes, very good. 519,437. Then you add income of other heads. Other heads income. Nil. It is gross total income. $519,437. And do you know what another change will be? There will be no deduction under section 80. You don't get any deduction except 80 CCD subsection 2. But that is not in my question. So 80 C 80G is there, no deduction, nil. and my total income will be 519440. I have rounded off last four. Similarly, if I have opted for optional taxation scheme, then how much will be my tax? So how do I compute tax on 519440? How do you compute tax? In optional taxation, up to 250 nil, 250 to 5 lakh 5%, 5 lakh to 7 lakh 50 10%, 7 lakh 50 to 10 lakh 15%, 10 to 12 lakh 50 20, 12 lakh 50 to 15 25, and above 15 30%. By this logic, I will say that the tax will be up to 2 lakh 50 nil, 2 lakh 50 to 5 lakh 5%. This 5% will give you 12,500 plus 10% of income exceeding 5 lakh, which is 519440 minus 5 lakh. I hope you remember the provisions. If not, revise it. 19440 into 10% plus 12,500. 1444. Tax. From this you give rebate. My rebate in this case will be nil. Can you tell me why my rebate is nil? Why rebate is nil?
So because income is above 5
Because
lakh.
income exceeds. Yes, because income exceeds 5 lakh. That is why my rebate is nil. Then what is left? Nothing. Add higher and education cess at the rate of 4%. 578. So that will be 15,020. That also need to be rounded off to the nearest multiple of 10. This last must be rounded off. That's it. I hope the point is clear. This full-fledged question will help you in revision of so many points. That's all for today's session. Presentation you must know. In case you have my book, you can see the presentation. This presentation should remain for any level, whether it is undergraduation, professional level, or administration level, or UPSC level. For civil services also, presentation must be clear. If you see carefully here, then in this case, assessee is in benefit when he does not opt for optional taxation scheme, because at that time the tax payable is nil. If you opt for this scheme which is having less rate, tax payable is more. And so one question is sufficient for today, and we will discuss the remaining questions in the next class. So that's all. Goodbye.